then this is when it was finally published. Very, very quickly, I want to show you. So I left that job and I went to teach. I said, okay, I've done the most amazing building I could ever do. It had Cinemeron. I want to do my own office and I want to practice and teach. And I was lucky to get a job at the AA. I've never taught before. A lot of people go into teaching with phasing, and I've never taught before. And so this is the first unit I taught. And a lot of the students that have done my class might recognize the system. We start off right at the beginning. The program was to design a hotel, and it was an adapted building. And I start off with an exercise saying, imagine what the space will look like as finished. Make a realistic photo montage. And so this guy is called Hendrik. Now he's a famous architect, and he made this image, and I think it's astonishing. It's an incredible image. It's incredibly powerful because it looks normal, nothing special. You can't really see because the quality is bad, but it's a bedroom and a lobby. See, this is the lobby, this is the reception. And he said, this is what I want to do. I want to do a system where, the room and the lobby is all connected. And I think this image then goes a long way to show how really at the beginning you can kind of imagine something and it can steer a project. And then rather than make conceptual models or massing, I said, okay, now I want you to make a trailer like a film for that image that you made for your hotel. So he wrote a script. He then made a film. This is the trailer. I'm not going to show you, but this is the snippets from the trailer. He made a poster. The Althing Hotel. Then collectively we went to the city that has the most hotel rooms in the whole world, Las Vegas, and we didn't gamble. We surveyed hotels, and when we were there, we started to make these models. This is a model that he made of Circus Hotel, and then he started to work with. This is his first model of a site model. And you can see he's very much influenced by David Lynch's films, because everything he makes has got this atmosphere. And I gave them an existing building. So this is an old 1960s post office, right in the smack of Holborn in London. And so he's working with this, so he makes this model. And then he says, well, my hotel is going to be something like a theater, where these rooms are moving. And you can't see it, but there's the boxes here that could move. This is the existing structure of the post office. And then he starts making these possibilities. Always, I want you to remember that first image that he made. And then again, he's making these possibilities. And then here's this final project that you would somehow enter from a point. You go into a lobby, and then you would kind of manufacture your hotel room. And then the hotel would be like the back of a theater. Here the pictures. So he had all this intricate system of how you could actually fabricate this hotel. And what I loved about his attitude is that, yes, it was verging on the utopic and impossible, but he never gave up. And this is to the extent that he believed in it. And I think belief in your project is fundamental. Because if you don't believe in it, then no one else is. And this guy, of course, every review that they had said, well, it's never going to work. And he said, no, this could work. There are systems where I can find the pneumatic systems, and I found this, and this, the load of this, and the stair could come out. These are the final images that he made. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
ask you a question? If design is, say, simplified to say as a kind of combination between intuition and, say, quantitative reading, these two things combined allows one to start designing. So you talk about design process in a way linked to intuition. So I guess from their perspective, without a very particular methodology, they haven't had the opportunity to kind of participate in something that's very particular. How would they, in a way, go about proceeding with the process? I mean, I guess you talked about failure as being one character that one needs to go through, but are there other things that might allow them to start developing a kind of method that's maybe more personal?
I would say in this particular case, and my approach is obviously intuition, but I would say that there are many ways, and the key word in my opinion is exploration. And that exploration could be through drawing, could be through reading, but the thing is exploration needs testing, right? And you've got to commit yourself. And I see, I might be wrong, in the past, maybe not you guys, but in the past, I've seen a reluctance to explore. Because when you explore, you can mess it up. And you can make yourself look stupid. You can make mistakes like what we make. And in a way, there's a tendency to play it safe. Because if you go on methodologies that are proven to work, you know, you've done it before, you've done it in your undergraduate, you've done it in your M1, you know that if you follow this kind of methodology, it's a kind of, more or less a safe way to generate a program or generate, a response to a site. But are you really engaging and intellectually challenging the problem at stake? So I would revert your question around is that the key essence of what I wanted to show was exploration. Now, this is one particular type of exploration. I'm not saying it's the right one, but it's one. There's other people that explore through drawing, other people that explore in other ways. So it's not got to be physical models. But once you engage in it, you've got to be committed to it. And you've got to make mistakes.
Can I jump in and amplify? Let's not call it mistakes. Let's say trying out things. If you look at all the monographs of great architects, pick your favorite, Zaha, Gehry, Foster, even corporate firms like KPF, they always have pages in the books that show all the study models. And they're hundreds for one project. You say, if these guys are so smart, why did it take them that many tries to get to it? And these guys are so smart because they're following the process, as you were pointing out. And that to have the dead ends or the cul-de-sacs are really essential to that process. And in our culture in Hong Kong, there's a tendency to be afraid of that because everything, and we live in a model answer society. You think about your own education from primary one onwards, it's so directly. The real value of this entire year, because once you go into the office, you've all been the year out, so you know what that's like. It'll be within very strict guidelines, but you have to be able to introduce your own critical thinking. You know, ultimately, our job as architects is not to give everything to the client what he says he wants. It's to give the client what he didn't imagine was possible. And the only way to get there is really to be willing to test out.
But I think if you go back a step and you do call them mistakes, if you really do call them mistakes, then I think psychologically they can be pivotal. Because I think basically when you're designing a project, you're looking for argumentation to made sense, right? And you know, if something doesn't make sense, that's a pivotal moment. That's an intellectual decision to say, okay, that doesn't make sense. I understand that, and therefore there will be another thing that does make sense. And I think you could call them trials, but I think by calling them mistakes, it's you use that, and I think this is what I learned from Jacques Ellul, is that everything becomes embodied into the design process. Right? You know, everything is something that he's using, and many of the things that I didn't say is these mistakes then get translated into other projects. So half of the things that, you know, if you've got a real kind of knowledge of their work, you see that half of the details are then in other projects, and some of the mistakes that someone else did are in our project, because it's a university, it's a system, and then you can knowledge gets transferred. Right? So something that you've done and maybe doesn't work in this period of your project could maybe doesn't work on a macro level, but you find out that if you apply the same philosophy on a micro level, then it's exactly what you need.
But what informs it, those trials should be derived from your research, right? It's not purely random.
No, it's not random, but deliberately today. I didn't show, you know, all the urban analysis pages that, you know, we also do, the office also does, because one of the things I wanted to show you is that testing is a form of thinking, right? And I think one of the things I have great difficulty in when I review M2 students is that I see huge amounts of data, extremely interesting. I have no idea how that can be translated, and you need some tools to translate it. And I think what really is kind of worrying is that you've got all that incredible knowledge, intellectual knowledge, and then when you go to design, you go back to your old tricks. You say, after all that, and because you've not been using any tools, and then you say, okay, now I've got to so I'll go back to Massin. Massin is, you know, I can do that. Instead, if you're doing everything at the same time, then maybe your Massin is informed by your data, and you can start working in tandem. I think that's the interesting thing, not working in compartments where everything is on stages. So it's a blurred picture that I'm trying to paint.
I think what's difficult to understand and also takes confidence to embrace is that the process is progressive, but it's not linear. And to know that even if it's might be a dead end, it doesn't mean you're going backwards. You're still always progressing. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think one thing that's very worth noting is the degree of the techniques, the kind of disciplinary process, not just in terms of the intellectual process, but the literal kind of figuring how a structural system or the facade can be supported. That level of kind of disciplinary test is required. So it's not just analyzing diagrams and all the first semester, but actually materialize these findings. So it's very much a technical problem or territory that we're working on. So that part to do with post-tensioning, that's all part of I guess the experimentation that would lead to this final image that everybody see. I wonder if Stefano, you came in late, but maybe I don't know if you have any comments.
Issues, so we need to go with.
I think we have this thesis seminar kind of trying to tie it in.
There is an issue that hasn't been mentioned, which is resolutory theory, which is a theory of organized activities, and in theory related the world to things, so material things to their relationship with building practice. And most of our design principles are based not on foundation aspects, based on strong theoretical basis, but more into emotive principles, which do not have strong theoretical drive. So that there is the problem how to organize theories, techniques in a moment in which also techniques are many are also the fields of experimentation as well. It's really difficult to distinguish what are techniques, what are instruments, what are concepts. Usually all those spheres that within a theoretical construction are strongly organized now become each one a field where you cannot really establish beforehand their precise role within a design. That makes the design quite a difficult discipline to teach. This is what I have to say. What I think was remarkable to mention is the idea of the exploration. Said that design is a form of research and a form of absolute knowledge probably of the art. This is,
So no questions from the student. Were there questions last time?
Last time there were a couple. A couple. So. Check. Ivy. Jason. I know almost all of you. Maybe we conclude today's seminar. So thank you very much.
Thank you. There are no questions because it's too formal, or no questions because
Because you covered everything. Step 1 to 9, so it's.
But I think one of the things that you've got to do is you've got to use every possibility that you have to engage your, to question things, right? And I think you all know me. You all speak to me. Why can't you ask a question in a formal setting? And I think you've got to, in a way, you've got to go beyond that. I speak in front of people, because presentation, speaking is actually so important to an architect. When you present your project, I would say 50% of it is the feeling that you emit of confidence standing in front of those panels. And if you, a little bit like when you pass a dog, if you're confident, the dog won't bark. If the dog feels the heartbeat going, the dog will bark. So you've got to ask questions, and these are settings, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's too formal, but you should engage. Some of you are not tired because you slept, but you should try and engage. Okay, next time. Ferret.
Have you seen Ferretto?
And I think you said it. Just like where's it? Why? Why that side? Why?
Point some of those out because
And that's otherwise,
yeah, yours always
you just got to clean one side.
that's really very to
And then
ECs and
maybe less architectural and just not landscape. Exactly. Well, you know that book I did?
yeah, so I mean,
That's the kind of small. Because it was huge that time. It was, we got to have a machine. So abstract experiments, they need to see, they think abstract, shocking shocks. Then we built that I see you next week.
so I want to get such a good entity